Welcome to Show Up Arizona. My name is Billy Harfosh. My guest today is candidate for US Senate, Mr. Daniel McCarthy. Daniel, welcome to the program.
Billy, thank you for having me.
So what are we doing here? Beautiful wife, 4 kids, you're a businessman, successful in real estate, cosmetics. Why throw a monkey wrench in this whole thing and run for Senate?
This is a special election for the United States Senate for a vacancy that was left by John McCain. After John McCain passed away, there was a grave concern by a group of individuals, including myself, that there was some games that were being played. John Kyle was appointed to the seat temporarily, and then Martha was appointed to the seat after John Kyle. Now, John Kyle, with all due respect, is now one of the highest paid lobbyists in D.C. For him to be shifted from D.C. as a senator temporarily until Martha could be the person, to me was just disgusting. I looked at it and I said, I don't appreciate the fact that someone that was just rejected by the base of the Republican Party, and there's reasons why. Martha was rejected based on her voting record. I have nothing against Martha. I have something very much against the way she has voted. And frankly, so do not 100,000 voters that are conservative voters in Arizona. They will not vote for any more John McCain, Mitt Romney-style Republicans, and that's what we're dealing with. So we have an interesting scenario where I recognize that she would not win a general election, so I had to make a decision. Do we put our life on hold and move into obviously into politics? I can tell you it was a last resort. I did everything in my power to find someone else to run this race as a donor. So I started to look for people to run as a donor, and I said, hey, we need to find someone that's willing to run against Martha in the primary, because if we do not primary Martha, we will lose another seat and we will be royal blue.
Okay, so take yourself, just for a moment,
Yep.
take yourself out of the equation. Mm-hmm. Does Senator McSally beat Mark Kelly?
No.
No chance?
Well, yeah, just 2018 in that cycle, if you saw, she got less votes than the mining inspector. I mean, Doug, let me put it like this. Doug, our governor, won by 14 points. She lost by 2. That's a 16-point spread. That anomaly that I'm aware of doesn't really exist anywhere. So you had a Republican governor win by 14 points.
Right.
And a Republican Senate candidate lose by 2. Well, why is that? I can go into specifics, but I mean, I can tell you that the conservatives have completely rejected Martha for good reason.
Yeah.
Martha is not really a Republican. I mean, she votes as a Democrat.
Right, and also we do know a lot of people moving from California, so the state is turning purple. I think that's pretty apparent with President Trump having his first visit to Arizona to the Honeywell plant. Let's just talk about the pandemic right now. So I bet when you started your campaign, you didn't think you'd be campaigning during a pandemic, during some of the craziest, biggest, most violent protests, well, in the history of our country. What is going on with the protests and the violence, by the way? Is it Antifa? That seems to be the Republican talking point. Who
Sure.
is creating all this? And is the left behind it?
Yes. So the major reason I was compelled to get into this race is because I believe the United States right now is in the midst of a war. We're in the midst of a war where we have a Democrat Party that has been completely hijacked by communist theology. Communism, Marxism, socialism, a lot of people, they hear these terms and they think of Ronald Reagan tear down this wall. They don't realize what this really is. This is the most dangerous political philosophy that has ever seeped its way into the American history, into the world's history. And what's happening is that you have a very sophisticated, complex attack happening on our soil. When Martha came out and she said she was in favor of red flag laws, these are gun confiscation laws. These are measures that the home of Tombstone was going to pass laws by Republicans saying that if someone turned you in, that you could lose your gun privileges. I mean, who would have ever thought that we'd be having this fight in Arizona, right?
Right.
Well, the reason I jumped in was because I started to see the writing on the wall. They are so emboldened, they are so extreme, and frankly, they have so much control now that I realized that this was, again, I didn't have a choice. It was a last resort. So to your point, what is happening with these riots? These riots are a communist invasion. This is a situation where you have paid mercenaries on the ground that are legitimately causing chaos. And this, by the way, we think we're immune to it because we're America. We're not immune to anything. This happened in Argentina. This happened in Venezuela. This has happened in other parts of the world. So we have a scenario where the United States is really the last holdout If you go anywhere else in the world, you have either primarily communist or primarily socialist all over the world. We're already practically a socialist nation, let's face it. So we have a scenario where they are emboldened, the radical left is emboldened, they are out for changing the fabric of the United States.
So to be clear, these are not random acts of
No.
looting. You think that this is definitely something that there's some money behind, some organizing behind, and specifically Antifa. Is that correct?
Of course, absolutely.
So if you were acting senator right now, what would you be doing? I
Yeah.
mean, obviously, would you support the president and say, hey, we might need the military on the streets?
I would be doing the same thing that I'm doing actually as I'm campaigning. I would be working with Black, Latino leaders, trying to find a way to use this opportunity to expand constitutional conservatism. We have the secret sauce of what makes America so great. We have the secret sauce of the largest wealth creation in world's history, individual rights, individual freedoms, right? Our Constitution has the answers. So as soon as we have educators out there, we can use these opportunities to go to those communities and welcome them into our party and say, hey, this is our chance to explain to them how dangerous this is. Don't let good riots go hijacked. I mean, listen, I've never seen before everybody universally on the same page against what happened to Floyd. Every single person was on the same page saying that was police brutality in the worst state. It was completely unacceptable and disgusting.
Right.
There could have been some real change made there.
Yeah.
We could have worked together because guess what? I don't want increased militarized police force.
Well, hopefully that there still can be some positivity
I hope
that comes
so.
out of this. Real quick on guns. All
Yes.
right. Now you've kind of been a champion of guns.
Yeah.
You're a gun advocate. You're a gun
Yeah.
guy. I was on your social media, and you talked about some business owners in Scottsdale that are, they're armed and ready in case another looting happens to their store. Isn't Arizona already one of the most gun-friendly states in the country? What more needs to be done with guns in Arizona? I mean, I see we have open carry here,
Sure,
right?
sure.
Well, I mean, isn't that already part of our culture here in Arizona?
Sure. Yeah, it is, and we want it to remain that way. So unfortunately, because of the state of the world, Virginia is a great example. We can't just sit here as Republicans in Arizona and think, oh, okay, we're safe because we're in Arizona. Look what's happening. We're on the verge of having 2 Democrat senators here. If I wouldn't have jumped into this race, this state would have been royal blue. Now, I want you to ask you a question. Mark Kelly, what do you think his main agenda is?
Is it anti-gun?
Well, he's well funded by.
You're good at this. Maybe we should switch roles. So it's anti-gun, but let's go back to who you're running against right now, Senator McSally.
Sure.
She's not anti-gun, is she?
She's come out in favor of the governor's red flag laws. She's also voted in the past for measures that have restricted gun rights. She's not someone that I trust, frankly, on these critical times. So yeah, she's someone that has disguised herself. She's concealed herself. She's not who she says she is.
Okay.
Her voting record speaks to this. By the way, this is her actions.
All right, so let's get to President Trump. And
Sure.
he was yesterday, Second Amendment, Second Amendment, Second Amendment,
Yep.
okay? It seems, I'm an outsider in the media looking in, it seems like actually your views align more with the president right now than Senator McSally. However, the president really supports Senator McSally.
Yep.
Have you reached out to President Trump, to him or his people, I don't know how all that works
Yeah.
behind the scenes, and tried to get an endorsement, say, hey, President Trump, actually, I'm your guy, not Senator McSally. How does that all work?
Well, how that works in D.C. is that when you are in the Senate, Mitch McConnell is going to have a lot more say than Daniel McCarthy is as an outsider candidate, right? So Mitch McConnell has complete control over the narrative with the president, unfortunately. If you go to my website, demanddaniel.com, right? When you go to demanddaniel.com, what you find is that, yeah, of course, we have a desire to see our country get back to our constitutional roots. I think the president also wants that. But frankly, no offense to the president, I love him, but I am going to be here long after 2024, long after 2030, 2040.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
So it's a long game for you.
Yeah, this is the long game for
If
me.
things don't go well, forgive me, say if things don't go well, you're in it for the long haul. I mean, what are you, 34?
I'm 35.
You're
yeah.
35?
Yep.
So you got plenty of time here to do this again. Is that what you're thinking? Is?
No, by no means. I mean, I dedicated myself to this run. We're going to run as fast as we possibly can to win this race. I have the internal numbers that tell me that we are already breaking ahead of her at this point. We have the ground game. We have the base support. So what's going to happen is on August 4th is we're going to see a surprise like we've never seen before. You're going to see something happen on the polls. It's going to seem like a miracle, but it's really been, about a year's worth of really hard work and grinding out. At my website, demanddaniel.com, you can find all of our positions. I don't know of any candidate that spells out their positions as thoroughly as we have. We are running a grassroots campaign, so we intend on winning, of course. After that, if it's not in the cards, then we plan on continuing to fight. I've been fighting for 10 years. I mean, I've been an activist. I've been fighting for our rights, on the ground. Regardless.
In a state like Arizona, I guess my point is, in a state like Arizona,
Sure.
if we're being completely honest here and open, you kind of do need President Trump's support. I mean, Senator McSally's been on my program 2 times before, and she's talked about flying back and forth on Air Force One. She's friendly with the president. She has his ear.
Yeah.
How can you kind of sway that support and say, hey, Trump, tweet about me, like I'm your guy?
No offense, and I love the president. I don't want it. He endorsed Mitt Romney. He endorsed John McCain. The president has endorsed individuals like Collins. I mean, this is not someone that necessarily has a great pick for Senate picks. Frankly, when he picks someone in the Senate, he might be telling us who not to vote for. And I'm not saying that I'm not putting words in his mouth. But his endorsement, frankly, would be great. But I encourage everyone to support me.
Sure.
But the president doesn't vote in Arizona, and the president doesn't live in Arizona.
Right.
So my voters are you and your audience and the people that matter. So I'm on the ground talking to everyone here, and I plan on showing you that what a true statesman looks like. We used to have a golden seal here in Arizona of the Barry Goldwater standard, right? People came to Arizona knowing that was the type of state that we had. I want to return us back to that.
All right, I'm going to read something to you now. When you first made your announcement that
Sure.
you were running, you made a statement, and this is what you said. You said, I know too much now to feel comfortable sitting at my dinner table with my 4 children and say I didn't do anything about this. And you were speaking about corruption at the highest levels of our state government. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, I can tell you that what people think is reality and what is reality are 2 different things. The public is in a position where they're very uninformed of what's really happening. Phoenix, Arizona is the kidnapping capital of the country, #1 in the country.
Human trafficking as well?
Okay. Yeah, it's #2 in the world next to Mexico City. Our media is completely owned and operated by a machine. That machine tells them the narrative to fall. That's what they fall. I have been ostracized. I mean, you can go through the headlines that they've ran on me, and it's miserable, right? The corruption that I'm referencing to is the most sophisticated war that the United States has ever been in. You have a small group of elitists that actually control every political position. You have a far extreme left of this country that is no longer the JFK Democrat Party. This is an out-and-out communist party. By the way, my last name is McCarthy. My middle name is Joseph. I have no relation. But I tell you this, if you think that the communist invasion that we're dealing with here in this land is not happening, I assure you, it is absolutely happening. And not only is it happening, it's being fostered with political cover by a lot of people that aren't who they say they are. So I don't care who these people are. I don't care what their agenda is. I know a lot more than what I'm alluding to. But what I will tell you is it doesn't matter. We're going to look for a new way forward. We're taking back control of our government. I would rather die on my feet than live on my knees. And I would make sure that I will fight this war over my kids fighting this war. And it is a war.
So if you do get elected, you're going to have to become part of that machine. You sound like you're going to be an outsider.
Yeah.
You sound like you're somebody that wants to fight for the people, but you don't want to be part of that political machine. Once you get in, you got to kind of work within those constraints. Can you do that? Can you be your views on the governor? Can you be comfortable working alongside these people, even though you have some problems with them right now as you're running?
Yeah, look, when we're elected as the senator of the state, you're going to have someone that's present. Going to Washington, D.C. and spending time on the floor of the Senate will be the least priority for me. You have 99 people, they're going to probably vote the same way over and over again. My job is to clog the arteries of the Senate as much as I possibly can. My job is to stand constitutionally on every single matter. It's black and white. So the nice thing is that in the timing that we're in, someone like me, frankly, can have more momentum and more mobilization than I could have had 4 years ago. More people are waking up today. Like you and I before we started on air, you were having some, interesting conversations. More people are waking up. So I'm just filling the vacuum that exists. That's what politics is. There's a vacuum that's been created. Frankly, it's been left by tyrants. And now I'm jumping into that vacuum, and I hope to serve you guys in a way that you've never been served before. You guys are going to have a servant leader like you've never seen. We are going to do things that you've never seen before in the United States Senate. And you're going to look back and you're going to say, we don't have a good senator. We have the best senator in the United States history. That's the goal. We want to raise the bar. So I'm not too worried about working with individuals because there are good people out there. You got Rand Paul, right? You got Jim Jordan. You've got Andy Biggs. Andy Biggs is someone I look forward to working with. You've got some of our leaders in place. They just need reinforcements, and that's what I am, is a reinforcement.
Daniel McCarthy, I appreciate you joining us today on Show Up Arizona. We'll finish with this. We got to get this. We got to get this
Sure.
on wax here. If we get Senator McSally here on this program, in this studio, will you join us and debate her? Will there be a debate, a formal debate, or do we need to do it right here on this show?
I will pay $25,000 to the charity of Martha's Choice one time if she accepts that debate challenge that you just said. I will be here any day of the week. I will cancel anything I'm doing to confront her. What she's doing it should be criminal. She didn't debate the last primary when she snuck in on Kelly Ward, right? She snuck in on Kelly Ward, by the way. She did not. She's trying to avoid debates this time when she didn't win the seat. She was appointed to a seat. She's not an incumbent. So yes, please, I beg of you and anyone else, if you can get Martha McSally to jump into a debate, I would be happy to debate her.
$25,000 to the charity of her choice.
$25,000 to the charity of her choice.
I will let her know.
Okay,
I like it. There he is, Daniel McCarthy. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Thank you, Billy.